Sure, by now you've heard people talking about the NDAA of 2012 and 2013 and the Patriot Act, which claimed to give the government the power to kill any person anywhere in the world without giving them a trial, without having to provide any actual evidence. Perhaps you were under the impression that they passed these laws with no intention of actually using them, or that if they ever did start using them, it would be obvious, and the mainstream media would report on it for what it was. But those aren't very realistic assumptions, are they? If you want a glimpse of what it looks like when the NDAA is being used against American citizens, the Chris Dorner case is a perfect example. Before we go into this, we first need to address the psychological element of the situation. These kinds of events, which involve blatant deception on the part of the government, are highly polarizing. It separates those who are willing to look at reality from those who are so attached to the religion of the state that they attack anyone who dares to call its intentions into question, as if they were heretics. What's most disturbing about this polarization is that by all appearances, those defending the official stories put forth are willing to swallow more and more blatant lies. It's very reminiscent of the psychology of the population depicted in Orwell's 1984, who accepted daily reversals in the official government propaganda without so much as batting an eye. Those who are emotionally committed to defending the state at all costs in America today are not far from reaching this level of conditioning. Now, whatever your take on the information that I'm about to present here may be, it should be clear that the very existence of the NDAA inherently opens up these kinds of questions. You give a government that kind of power, and you gotta be a special kind of stupid to think that they're never gonna use it someday. This case isn't just about Dorner. It's about setting a series of precedents and conditioning the public for a new normal, where drones are used to hunt fugitives within the country, where massive police checkpoints are established all across the country searching random vehicles without warrants, and where hundreds of house-to-house searches were performed with no probable cause and with no warrants issued, and where a flimsy story is presented to explain how a suspect that's been labeled a domestic terrorist is killed before he can have his chance to stand trial. This is just a glimpse of what's coming to America. We've been warning you about this for years, and now it's finally rolling out. If the American people accept this precedent, if they accept this trial run, it's only going to expand from here. Mark my words, this is just the beginning. Now, the simple fact of the matter is that we will probably never know the full story of the Dorner case. There isn't going to be a legitimate investigation. The mainstream media isn't going to do any real journalism. Most importantly, Dorner isn't going to get to give his side of the story, because dead men tell no tales. It was obvious from the very beginning of this manhunt that Dorner was wanted dead, not alive. Early on, a truck loosely matching the description of Dorner's vehicle was spotted, and the police instantly opened fire, hitting 71-year-old Emma Hernandez in the back and injuring 47-year-old Maggie Carranza with flying glass. According to the women who made a statement to CBS through their lawyer, there was, quote, no warning. There were no orders, no commands, just gunshots. Think about this for a second. They opened fire without even taking time to verify that the occupant of the vehicle was a man. From that point on, it was clear to many of us that Dorner was never going to stand trial. Why is that exactly? Could it be that they didn't want him to tell his side of the story? Now, I'm sure you've all heard about this manifesto that Dorner supposedly wrote, and this is being presented to the public as the primary evidence of his guilt. But what real evidence do we have that he actually wrote it? How hard is it to type up a document and put it out in someone else's name? It's not that hard at all. But we're just supposed to take LAPD's word on this, even though the background story here is that Dorner had come forward exposing corruption inside of the LAPD. Could it possibly be that he was being set up? And these are obvious questions, but they're not being asked at all by the mainstream media. We are being fed an official line and we're supposed to just swallow without any question, even though the manifesto itself is completely absurd and contradictory. This guy is supposedly on a cop-killing rampage, and in the middle of his manifesto, he puts out a call for gun control? Seriously, guys, is this the best you can do? Now again, we don't really know what happened here, and we probably never will, because the story has been spun in such a way that conveniently destroys all the evidence in a fire. Speaking of fire, I'm going to close this out by letting you listen to the audio from the police scanners that were recorded that night, right before the cabin in Big Bear started burning. Keep in mind as you're listening to this that the authorities ordered media outlets to cut the video feeds from helicopters as this was going down, and the news companies complied.
I don't know. Get going right now. Fucking burn this motherfucker.
For more videos like this, subscribe to StormCloudsGathering on YouTube. For updates, bonus content, and to influence future videos, follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/StormCloudsGathering. Our Twitter handle is Collapse Updates, and our website is StormCloudsGathering.com.